Hello and welcome to Say Yes to You and Why You Don't, for women who are great at saying yes to others, but not necessarily as great at saying yes to themselves. I am Claudia Braun, mindset and lifestyle coach for women to step into their ability to own their yes and their no. And today we are talking about dealing with conflict. So also want to remind you to download your 3 strategies to own your yes if you have not accessed it yet, and that is available at www.freebie.claudia-braun.com. www.freebie.claudia-braun.com. So this thing about conflict, we all deal with it in all areas, perhaps, of our life. Sometimes it can feel like conflict is everywhere, and sometimes it feels like we're smooth sailing and then suddenly out of the blue conflict shows up. And how do we manage it without having it eat us up or lash out at somebody or push it down so that we just feel more and more built up and then explode either at ourselves or somebody else who has nothing to do with the conflict? How do we navigate what can be really uncomfortable waters, especially if we have been people who are pleasers, very good at pleasing others, not necessarily as great at pleasing ourselves? Maybe we don't like to deal with conflict. Maybe we want to avoid it. Maybe we want to pretend it's not there. How do we deal with it? And I know that this is something that I work with my clients who talk about it with it coming up as an issue in their marriages, coming up in issues with people that they're working with, can come up with a family member. Like, how do we navigate this seeming tricky waters? And it feels tricky because it's emotions maybe that we're not used to navigating. And I know for me, I didn't grow up in a place where conflict was dealt with in a very helpful way, in a very communicative way. There was a lot of exploding going on or no communication about it. They're just extremes. But how do we walk in these waters that feel conflicting, right? I mean, we're dealing with conflict, so obviously there's an internal feeling of doesn't feel good, these conflicting feelings within ourselves. Desire to speak up, to not speak up, to not want to go. Maybe we think if we go there, we're going to make things worse. And yet we think, but it doesn't feel good, so not speaking about it doesn't feel good either. So then it's an end up feeling like we're in this never-ending cycle. And some things feel like, you know what, it's just too volatile. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there at all. So I see, particularly in my own life and dealing with other people, it's easy to be on an extreme. Either, I know one of the women that I worked with, she was all in for conflict, right? She's always like, she's the one initiating it. She's the one that's like full on in and people are kind of backing off from her. But then maybe what I notice, other people that I work with, and really has been my case as well, is that like I didn't really want to deal with it. But that in my own life and people I work with as well, it's like you get to a place and you realize you may not want to deal with it. And you get to a place and realize, and for the highest good, so that you really can create a feeling of inner well-being and peace, you do need to go there on some level. And the opportunity is, how do you do it from a place of compassion for yourself and the situation? And that really is the conversation that I want to have today. And I really look forward to hearing your input and your perspective on how this has shown up in your own life? Because I see that in these conflicting situations, it can be very easy to not feel any compassion for yourself or for the situation or the other person. It's so easy to make somebody wrong and blame and judge, and then all that does is add fuel to the fire. A situation that already feels conflicted becomes more so. And what I've come to know for myself, and what I know that my clients discover as well, is that the more that we can increase our compassion for ourselves and the situation, the more things can start to soften and change. Because we've talked about this before, the more we go into a place of judgment, self-judgment, judgment of others, things just get harder. They get more rigid, more walls, more separation. And it is that separation that can feel so hard to bridge. And so this episode really on conflict is about helping each of us come to a place that we are going to do this perfectly imperfect. We're going to make a lot of mistakes here. We might land in, landmines, and yet we will find a place of greater ease around this and greater ability to navigate this as we up our own kindness and compassion for ourselves in our dealing with something that feels challenging, out of our comfort zone. And particularly if you've been somebody like I had been for sure, who absolutely, as the youngest child, I never really dealt with conflict. I wasn't really in any sibling experiences of kind of working struggles out. So I've had to really learn as an adult how to have challenging conversations, and perfectly imperfect is definitely the byline, I would say. And it's willing to be perfectly imperfect. Letting go of perfectionism has definitely been a opportunity to be, because we are not perfect. None of us are going to do this perfectly. And I think sometimes that is the inner struggle of feeling like I want to do this right. I want to do it. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to make it worse. So then sometimes it feels like there's nowhere to go. And so then we don't deal with it at all, only making things worse and things compounding, getting more complicated. So this going into conflicting situations is a willingness to be in the experience, to be willing to navigate it, to be willing to be in the process of it. And it all comes back to our relationship with ourselves. The more we can sit with our own uncomfortable feelings, the more we can sit with the both sides of our own feelings, the discomfort of it, the not knowing, the confusion, being willing to be in all aspects of that, the more we are able to navigate this with greater ease. Greatest opportunity in these conflict situations is to be willing to be in this experience, to be in the process, to maybe things don't get wrapped up right away. Maybe things continue to unfold. Maybe there's more conversations. Maybe there's more that needs to evolve from it. And being okay with that. And I think that's it. It's this willingness to be okay with what is. And I think that's the thing about conflict, is that it feels so wrong. Inside, we know we don't want to live from that place. We want to live from a place of greater ease, of flow, of joy. And when we're in that feeling of compassion, not compassion. But when we're in that feeling of conflict and something's not going right, and a relationship feels so difficult, or such a struggle, or a work situation or a family situation feels so difficult, such a struggle, inside we know something's off. It's not wrong. It's not right. It's not how we know ourselves to be. So that in itself is a teacher. When we feel inside something feels off, wrong, conflict, we know that's not how it's supposed to be, right? We know we want to live from a place of greater ease, greater compassion, greater joy. And the more we feel these landmines of conflict, the more we know that we are off track. And that's actually a really good barometer of going, something's off here. Something's off perhaps in my thinking. Where do I need to see this differently? Where am I contributing to the conflict? How am I making things worse? What is my part in this? And I think that also helps to shift things, because it's so easy to get into this place of they're wrong, I'm right, or I'm right, they're right, I'm wrong, that right-wrong game. And again, it's like when we're in the blame of any sort, it's that there are sides, and always there are aspects of each side, if you will, that have truth to it. And I think it's that willingness to be able to see things from both sides. And so many times when we are so attached to our way that things have to be, we're not able to do that. And again, it's like giving ourselves permission to be where we are. Okay, we're not able to do that right now. And to not judge ourselves for that, because it's so easy to go, well, I should know better. Sometimes even though we think we should know better, we're not able to do better. So again, it's that willingness to have grace for ourselves in these processes and not expect us to get it right immediately. We probably won't. And if we can learn from these experiences, if we can grow from these experiences, that's, I would say, the greatest opportunity that we have, is to know that every one of these situations is going to change us. And if we're willing to, as I say, play the game, be in the process, be willing to see conflict as our teacher, and be willing to see conflict of, how can I see what this has to offer me? And there's like a ratio, they say that like even if you can see the other person at 5% right, it helps us to soften our viewpoint. It helps us to back up. It helps us to feel less confrontational or less combative. And I think that's really the key, is this willingness to be able to see it from a wider viewpoint. And I know how easy it is to get attached to our viewpoint and to, we've had many years of practicing it in this way to get attached to it. And none of us are perfect. And that is not the goal here. The goal here is to be feeling like we are operating from our best selves and doing the very best we can to operate in that way. And we are all going to make mistakes along the way. And can we be willing to rise above what feels like that conflict that wants to pull us down and cause us to feel more stress, more worry, more anxiety, because that does not fuel who we are here to be. So from here, from this place of discovering, what is this, maybe the question we walk away from, we get from this podcast today is really to ask ourselves, really, like, what does this conflict have to teach me? What is it trying to show me? What is it trying to show me about myself? What is it trying to show me about the other person? What is it showing me about us together in this situation or me in this work situation. How did I get here? What brought me here? What am I learning from this? What do I want to walk away from or with? Is this a situation I want to continue to stay in? I mean, like really asking ourselves questions so that we can feel greater clarity and knowingness about how we want to operate here. And I think that's always what it comes back to is we are always a choice. And that when we feel like we are not a choice, we've given up our own power. And then we are back in that victim place. And always from a victim standpoint, there's no power. There's no inner sense of going anywhere with it, right? I mean, if we don't feel like we have choice, then we're going to feel pushed down. We're going to feel small. And I say that's really the thing about when we're not saying yes to ourselves and we need to be saying yes, there is that feeling inside of feeling small and like we don't have choice. And I think that's the thing that these conflicts can teach us, show us, is that we always have choice. How do we want to go about this? How do we want to approach it? Do we want to just avoid it? Do we want to tread lightly if it's a volatile situation? Are we best off avoiding it? I mean, really assessing the situation. But even if we decide to avoid it, that's a decision. Know that you've made a choice. I'm not going to go there. I'm not dealing with it. I choose not to. But many times I find with my clients, and I know I've felt it in my own life, when you're avoiding something, you're resisting it. And when we're in resistance, you just feel heavy. You just feel tired. It weighs you down. So yes, it's a choice. And then the question comes back to, how does that feel inside yourself to operate from that place? So navigating these perhaps tricky waters sometimes is always an opportunity for greater growth. And I know that on this path that we are on to saying yes to ourselves, we are going to be confronted with all the ways in which we don't say yes to ourselves, and what is it that holds us back from saying yes to ourselves, and how is it in this being this pleaser mode that we give aspects of ourselves away by not being willing to show up fully and speak what is true for us. How we invalidate our own viewpoint because we don't want to deal with conflict, because we don't want somebody else to be mad at us, to not like us. And that's what I see happens so many times when I'm working with clients of why they haven't said yes, why they don't say yes. I see this opportunity of conflicts really showing us in our lives where we're given this opportunity to see it differently, where we might be wrong. We absolutely might be full on wrong. But if that's where we're at in that moment, we have that viewpoint to give ourselves permission to have it. And maybe other people don't like it. And to give ourselves permission to be okay with that too. And I say that I know in my own life, coming to peace with other people not liking me or my viewpoint has been really a growth place, because as somebody who has been a full-on pleaser, I wanted everybody to like me. And when they didn't or don't like choices that I make or are making, it can still kick up that old stuff. And as if there's something wrong with me. And I know that when we are okay with the choices that we're making and we know they're right for us, there are going to be plenty of people who won't like it, won't agree with us. And really, the gift for us in this process is being okay with that. Because we're all different. We all do life differently. And know that is the beauty of this place, is that we get an opportunity to be here to do life just like you are doing it. Just like it is your thumbprint. Your thumbprint is your original stamp that you put out, and so is the way that you operate in the world. The way you operate is your original stamp, and you get to shine brightly. And by allowing yourself to have your viewpoint, to have your voice, you get to strengthen, if you will, your fingerprint, your unique self, instead of squashing it or squelching it because you think somebody else won't like it, or it might create conflict by putting it out there. And these times really are asking each of us to be our authentic selves. And being our authentic selves is going to bring up our unique differences. And I would say that that is something to absolutely celebrate, is our unique differences, your unique difference. So I can't wait to hear your response and sharing with me how you have found conflict to be in your own life. How do you deal with it? Do you not deal with it? What have you discovered about it? Are you somebody who avoided conflict and now you're great at it, or somebody who doesn't deal with conflict, or somebody who actually goes full on into conflict, you love it? So many different ways that you can approach this, and I look forward to hearing all of it. So I am very, very appreciative to be with you today. I love sharing with you, and I love getting your feedback from this podcast. So I will look forward to seeing you next week. I am Claudia Braun, mindset and lifestyle coach for women who are great at saying yes to others, not always so great at saying yes to themselves. And if you haven't downloaded your 3 strategies to say yes to you, don't forget to do that. www.freebie.claudia-braun.com to get your 3 strategies to say yes to you. I look forward to being with you next week, and have a great week. Bye for now.